Welcome back to Cal Park Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the Free Will Smith for profit prison segment. Free Will. Jason, for a co-host that swears that we never talk baseball, I feel like we are giving baseball plenty of due in the first 4 months of 2022.
That's because I made you feel guilty about it.
Nah.
I think so.
And I thought this was interesting. This is an article by Harry Enton at CNN. Why is baseball no longer America's game? Major League Baseball is finally back. Despite a lockout and delay in opening day, players are actually going to take the field. When my father, born in 1927, was my age, opening day was one of the biggest events on the sports calendar. For his son, it's just another day. It's not that I don't like baseball, I do. It's that baseball is not the sport that stands out above all others in my mind. And it says, sport, which is once the most popular in the country, has a variety of problems that has landed at best a distant second place in America's hearts. This is especially true among America's youth. I feel like I'm going to stop there. The reason I'm going to stop there is because baseball is not set up. It's crazy even talking about a sport that doesn't even look the same as it did in 1927 to 2022, about how it somehow is not the sport that it once was. Like, there are other sports that would kill to fucking be baseball right now. And so I look at this article. I think it's important. I think the stats are very real, but I also feel like no sport is what it was 100 years ago. These things change. Consumer preferences change. And as long as Rob Manfred and the powers that be manage not to screw up the money, there will be money. Baseball will thrive in the digital age. You can see Major League Baseball's even taking steps to ensure that it will thrive and not just survive. So I stopped there because I felt like, one, the article it presented as very sour grapes, that baseball isn't the juggernaut that it once was in 1927 or 1960. I mean, the article references the rise of TV. It also brings up an important distinction. Baseball didn't have a lot of competition in the 1960s. There was no direct TV deal for the National Football League. So every time I see an article like this, I think, here we go. Another woe is me baseball article. So what are your thoughts? Why the concern that baseball isn't baseball anymore?
There's a question for you. Point blank to you. Yeah, Brett. Is baseball America's game currently in 2022?
No. Because America's game is America. The America's game crap always cracks me up, because it basically infers that you can only have one game.
As you mentioned before, that was the case. Baseball was America's game. It was number one. Despite all the reasons you gave, which are actually correct, baseball is still America's game number one. Even I'd say, even when you and I were playing Little League in Calumet Park, Illinois, even then, back in the early 90s, even then it was still America's game. Fast forward 30 years later, today, obviously it's not. But that's the whole point of the article. It's not bull with me per se. Like you said, MLB's not broke. You know what I mean? They got TV deals too. It might not be as powerful as the NFL. So what? MLB's not broke. So no wars me. No one's crying poor, as you say a lot too. It's not American game anymore. And yes, they may still be thriving in some ways, but the point of this article, which will go down further, says that the game may be in trouble going forward because, like you even read, the youthful fans aren't coming to the game. And to be more specific, the article mentions a poll that was posted in the Washington Post last year. And when examining that poll more in depth, the problem baseball has become both more apparent and even scarier. A mere 7% of those under the age of 30 say baseball is their favorite sport, compared to 24 saying football, 17 playing basketball, even 12% saying something else, and of course 10% saying soccer. So all those percentages of people were ahead of baseball. And that's the problem that baseball is going to continue to have. And probably, to be honest, as a baseball fan myself, being my number one favorite sport to play and watch, there's probably nothing they can do about it. They're making all the rule changes, trying to speed the game up, make it more exciting, which they're winning. It is more exciting in some regards. But I don't think there's anything they can do to recapture the youth. So when you're comparing those other sports I mentioned, football obviously is the new America's game. I'm sure you'll agree on that. Then obviously you have the excitement of basketball, the back up and down, back and forth pace. It's a faster game. So, of course, the youth are going to be more into that. It's what it is. Soccer, same premise as basketball. It's more back and forth. Might not be much scoring, but it's back and forth, more exciting in that regard. And then people will say something else. That should tell you right there. How many other sports fall in that something else? Plenty. MMA, volleyball. So that's why articles like this exist. There's not a woe is me thing, no one's crying poor, nothing like that. That's a stone cold fact. Baseball is going to have a problem. But at some point, if you and I are the last generation of fans, well, I shouldn't even put you in it because we know you hate baseball. Well, with people who are my age, yeah, I said that. What are you going to do? It's the truth. But with people my age, if we're the last true people that love baseball, guess what? We're going to be dead at some point. I'm not going to say baseball is going to die off because it's not. Well, I'm only going to be on this earth another 50-some years. So, which sounds like a long time, and it is. But the crop of fans coming behind me, it's going to create another crop of fans behind them that aren't going to be in love with baseball like I was. People my age. There's going to be a problem with baseball right there.
I also think another reason why baseball is in trouble is that it took them so damn long to get with the program to evolve.
They could have done it anyway. I mean, all the rule changes they've done, you can't. Well, you can, but they're not. They haven't changed the style of baseball. It's not meant to be played fast. Well, at least not as fast as basketball or football or soccer.
Right, but even soccer has made inroads, even though it's a 90-minute game.
Well, soccer also has the benefit of twice a huge worldwide tournament that gets decided every 4 years. That's not even the Olympics. It's also 4 years. And then in this country, especially once the Women's World Cup even start taking off, that adds even more eyes to soccer because that's a whole other sport, for lack of a better term. People kind of get behind. It's obviously the same sport as soccer, but women's soccer versus men's. So yeah, it's what it is. I'm still gonna love baseball no matter what, but yeah, that's a problem. Again, probably nothing they can do about it.
I mean, you used the term defeatist earlier in this show. I don't think that this is all for naught. I think, well, one, you got to come up with a grassroots pipeline for people to consume the game. You got to think of it. Baseball is in trouble not only because the average fan is getting older. They're also in trouble because, well, I'm only going to put my kid in so many sports, and even many of the marquee athletes, like your Mike Trouts, for example, don't even have like a social media presence. Now, that's not really Mike Trout's fault. Mike Trout never really wanted that type of social media vibe. But I'm thinking more along the lines of I'm thinking about issues where like for the longest time you couldn't even watch like Major League Baseball highlights on Twitter because Major League Baseball was so ironclad. They said, nope, we only want people consuming that in certain avenues. And I think they failed to realize, oh my God, maybe some of these people would be more likely to check out a game if they were receptive to those audiences, to those avenues of promotion, because that's where many of these younger fans happen to be. They are now.
Yeah, you
They
want
are
to tour
now.
that. So yeah.
Right. They are now in 2022. But the thing is, more social media savvy leagues, for example, like the National Basketball Association, the National Hockey League, for crying out loud, they were on this train 10 years ago. So they're, Major League Baseball, they're playing from behind.
I'm not going to say that's not correct, but when we come to my defeatist attitude, you said that's more of what you said. They're playing from behind, and two, what can they really do to catch up at this point, right? Football is number one. I don't foresee. Now, obviously, some changes. I don't foresee that changing because we were talking about the other day about spring football is not a thing now. You have like the XFL, the what is it, the CFL, the Fan Control Football League, and then there's some other league I can't think of that's will be USFL. Also, all spring football because they're trying to catch heat from now the NFL season. So football's gonna be number one. I'd say baseball is probably, or rather basketball is probably gonna remain number two because as long as they have stars, like true superstars they can watch and enjoy, that's gonna have people to the game. Whether you love or hate LeBron James, you're talking about it. You're gonna watch it. People are gonna buy tickets wherever his team's coming to their town. People are gonna buy tickets. That's gonna be a sold out game. Same thing with the Warriors. Sold out game. When I was working with the Pacers, they said those are games you can always count on being sold out. When LeBron comes to town, when Kevin Durant comes to town, even the Warriors come to town. You can count on those being sold out. They were absolutely right. All three of those games are sold out like that. Baseball, I don't think I say they have superstars. So that may be what you mentioned with the whole social media aspect of it. But like you said, when you're game's best player, well, up to this point at least, game's best player doesn't really have much star power outside of the spectrum of baseball. Maybe Shohei Ohtani can change that. That's going to be a struggle. You know what I mean? I'd say even soccer probably has more recognizable face of the women's team than you do anybody else. I don't want to say Megan Rapinoe is probably more recognizable than Mike Trout.
Okay. And I'm not even saying that's incorrect. I'm saying I was approaching this particular discussion from the perspective of not oh, we need more stars, because that's not going to make, you know, someone's 10-year-old kid get interested in the game. A good product that is actually accessible to me and a family of 4 or 5 is going to
Well,
help
when you say
that.
accessible, what do you mean? How do you mean?
Accessible as in, can I go to a game without spending less than $200?
Yes. Baseball of the four major sports, well, I don't know about hockey, so let me not say hockey. But baseball, or actually probably hockey too. Of the four major sports, baseball is probably the cheapest ticket you can go to. You can find a ticket to a baseball game for less than $10. Now, obviously, whatever you spend on concessions, great. But even with concessions, parking, and the cost of tickets, you can easily spend less than probably $100. So from that aspect, baseball is the most successful.
I also would say antiquated rules about watching your team
What do
on
you mean?
television. Like, for example, blackout rules and stuff like that. Like,
Does that apply to all sports though?
I'm well. Those sports don't have this youth problem. Like hockey, hockey has a hockey has a surplus pipeline of young people who care about it.
Well, I mean, you can't really control blackout rules. That's really more the TV folks too. So you can't really always control that.
Yeah,
That's a relative sport, by the way.
yeah. I also think a good chunk of these teams, for example, moving moving their stadium out of metropolitan areas into the burbs may also be having some implications in terms of fan engagement as well.
Do you have an example of a team that baseball team that did that?
The Atlanta Braves. They're not in Atlanta anymore.
Well, I mean, that I don't say you're wrong on that, but that's kind of a hard because at some point every team is going to need a new stadium.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
always too much space in a major city where you can put a stadium, correct?
Nah, I'm not excusing that because you're basically to the accessibility point. You're making it harder for perhaps certain individuals in socioeconomic um, categories to even get to a game. Like it might be $10 damn, but if it's 2 hours away and I can't get there by train,
Well, folks, that's an exaggeration by Terrence. The Nolan Stadium is 2 hours away. But, again, I don't say you're wrong. But again, I'm sure you'll acknowledge, at some point, every team, no matter the sports, maybe other than hockey, is going to need a new stadium. Just like take Chicago. Like we talk about the Bears, want to get a new stadium. We talked about that before. Where else would they put a new stadium actually in Chicago? So much limited space, right? So it's either stay in the stadium you're at and make it better, or I'd have moved somewhere else. Not arguing with you, but I mean, again, that may be the turn. I'm not gonna say it's not. That's a tough one to kind of overcome because that's not even really an MLB thing. That's more of for individual teams. The MLB's not gonna care that some team wants to move the stadium 40 minutes outside of the city. They just want to know, hey, you're making the stadium better to make more money, so we can get more money. Obviously, the team's going to do it if they want to get a championship, like a Super Bowl or whatever, or an All-Star game, whatever. That's tough, and you're right. Unfortunately, that can be a deterrent for a lot of people. I have to imagine at some point that's going to affect every single team in whatever sport we're talking about. That makes baseball suffer even more than the other ones. So.
yeah.
There you are.
Yep. All right. That concludes our segment on baseball engagement. And with that said, we'll wrap up the show.